What Africa gives to the world, Europe don't have it, America don't have it, Asia don't have it. Because we are not mining in China, we are not doing any mining in America or mining in Europe. But they're doing it in every part of Africa. Not just Sierra Leone, go to Democratic Republic of Congo, go to Botswana, go to Angola, go everywhere there is mineral resources. It is the West and the Chinese who are there. But I believe that for Africa, what is happening in Africa today, it needs to change, and it needs to change now.
Sierra Leone just made a bold move that is shaking the global mining world, and this time it's not about rare earths or hidden minerals. It's about diamonds, the one resource everyone on the planet instantly recognizes. In a stunning decision, Sierra Leone has officially cut off a U.S. mining license and taken back control of one of the country's most valuable assets, its diamond future. For decades, diamonds have been the lifeline and the curse of this nation, a symbol of struggle, beauty, conflict, and hope. And now, for the first time in years, Sierra Leone is stepping up and saying, these diamonds belong to us, not to foreign companies. This sudden cancellation has caught Washington off guard, and it raises big questions. What pushed Sierra Leone to make such a powerful move? Is this the beginning of a new era where African nations finally reclaim the wealth beneath their soil? And how will this decision reshape the global diamond market? What happens next could change everything. Sierra Leone has just made one of the most defining decisions of its modern economic era, and the world is already reacting. By cutting off a U.S. mining license tied to one of its key diamond regions, the country has drawn a bold line in the sand. This is not simply a legal cancellation or a bureaucratic shift. It is a dramatic reclaiming of national power, a declaration of economic independence, and a signal to global mining giants that Sierra Leone will no longer operate under the old rules that too often allowed foreign hands to benefit while its own people remained in poverty. Diamonds have shaped the destiny of Sierra Leone for more than half a century, bringing both prosperity and heartbreak. They have built empires for foreign corporations, fueled conflict, funded warlords, and at the same time inspired dreams of wealth and stability. Now, Sierra Leone is fighting to take back control of this resource, not just for today, but for its future. To understand the magnitude of this move, we must go back to the complicated history between Sierra Leone and diamonds. Few countries in the world are as deeply associated with one resource as Sierra Leone is with diamonds. From the 1930s, when diamonds were first discovered in Kono district, foreign companies rushed into the country with deals, licenses, and promises of development. For decades, diamonds flowed out of Sierra Leone and into the global market. European companies dominated early extraction, and later, multinational corporations and private operators took over. But throughout these years, local communities saw very little benefit. Roads remained unpaved, schools remained underfunded, and hospitals struggled to stay open, while millions of dollars in diamonds were exported. Annually, those living closest to the mines often remained the poorest. This imbalance grew worse during the Civil War in the 1990s. Conflict diamonds, blood diamonds, terms the world learned because Sierra Leone's diamonds became the fuel of war. Rebels, militias, and corrupt intermediaries seized mining areas to finance the purchase of weapons. The world eventually responded with sanctions and regulations, but the damage had already been done. Sierra Leone's diamonds became symbols of both hope and suffering. Even after peace returned, the industry never fully transformed. Yes, new laws were passed, new regulations enforced, but foreign companies still dominated the sector. The wealth still left the country faster than it entered, and many Sierra Leoneans felt that the cycle of extraction without belonging had never truly ended. And this is why Sierra Leone's decision to cut off a U.S. mining license matters so much. It represents a break from that history, a break from the idea that wealth only flows outward, a break from the assumption that foreign companies always hold the power. The government's action shows a determination to protect the nation's diamond-rich lands and place national interest over foreign influence. Diamonds are not simply stones, they are Sierra Leone's story, and rewriting that story starts with reclaiming ownership. Reports surrounding the license cancellation point to several concerns raised by the government. These include compliance issues, environmental protections, community impact, and the fairness of revenue distribution. Whether these concerns were technical violations or deeper structural issues, Sierra Leone clearly felt that the deal did not align with its long-term goals. The government understands something many African countries are now recognizing. Valuable minerals must not be managed with weak contracts, outdated regulations, or one-sided agreements. The world has changed, Africa has changed, and Sierra Leone is stepping forward into a new posture, one defined by sovereignty and strength, not dependency. Diamond mining is one of the most sensitive industries on Earth. It requires transparency, accountability, and strict oversight. Unregulated or poorly managed extraction can lead to exploitation, environmental destruction, community displacement, and corruption. Sierra Leone has lived through all of these consequences, which is exactly why this decisive action is so meaningful. Ending a mining license signals a refusal to repeat the past. It shows that Sierra Leone is willing to sacrifice short-term gains for long-term national benefit. This is not only about stopping one company. It is about resetting the entire foundation of how the diamond sector operates. The global response has been mixed. Some investors are surprised, others cautious, but many recognize that this is becoming a continental trend. Across Africa, nations are revisiting mining agreements, renegotiating terms, raising taxes, enforcing environmental standards, and demanding local participation. Countries like Botswana, Namibia, Tanzania, and Zambia have already made similar moves, pushing foreign companies to engage as partners, not masters. Sierra Leone's decision fits squarely within this wave of resource nationalism, a wave driven not by anger, but by awareness. Awareness that Africa's minerals have powered the world. For generations, while African nations remained on the periphery of the profits. Cutting off a U.S. mining license sends a message not just to Washington but to all foreign investors. Sierra Leone is open for business, but only on fair terms. Respectful, balanced, mutually beneficial terms. The days of walking into the country, extracting wealth, and leaving communities behind are over. For Sierra Leone, diamonds represent far more than economic opportunity. They represent identity. They represent a chance to break generational poverty. They represent schools, jobs, roads, electricity, and modern development. This is why the government is taking a stand. Another layer to this decision is the environmental dimension. Diamond mining can cause serious damage when not strictly regulated: soil erosion, water contamination, deforestation, and destruction of agricultural land. Sierra Leone is already grappling with the long-term environmental scars left by decades of mining without adequate restoration efforts. Communities in mining regions have repeatedly complained about polluted rivers, abandoned pits, and lost livelihoods. For a country rich in natural beauty and biodiversity, protecting the environment is not optional. It is essential. By canceling the license, the government may be asserting that the era of reckless mining is finished. Economically, the implications of this move are significant. Sierra Leone generates important revenue from its diamond exports, but the real potential lies far beyond raw extraction. For years, the country has spoken about value addition: cutting, polishing, and processing diamonds locally. These steps create jobs, increase profits, and move Sierra Leone up the value chain. Instead of exporting rough stones for others to profit from, Sierra Leone wants to develop industries that keep value inside the country. But doing this requires governance, structure, and control. Cutting off a license is part of that effort. The government cannot build a modern diamond industry if outdated or unfavorable agreements continue to dominate the landscape. From a geopolitical standpoint, Sierra Leone's action is a form of self-defense. When global powers compete for resources, smaller countries risk becoming battlegrounds for influence. By asserting control over its own diamonds, Sierra Leone is shielding itself from this dynamic. It is ensuring that decisions about its resources are made internally, not externally. This is a strategic shift toward independence: economic independence, political independence, and resource independence, and in today's global environment, that kind of independence is priceless. But this story is not just about governments and corporations. It is about the people of Sierra Leone. It is about miners who work long hours in tough conditions. It is about families in Kono, Kenema, and Bo who live next to mining areas and want their children to grow up with opportunities. It is about community leaders who have seen promises broken and want real change. It is about restoring faith that the nation's most precious resource will finally benefit its own citizens. If Sierra Leone manages this moment wisely, it could redefine its future. The country has the potential to turn its diamonds into engines of development rather than symbols of exploitation. The key will be creating a transparent regulatory framework, attracting ethical investors, enforcing environmental protections, and ensuring community participation. Diamond wealth must not remain in the hands of the elite or foreign executives. It must flow to every corner of the nation. The world will be watching Sierra Leone closely in the coming months. Will the government negotiate new deals? Will it open the diamond sector to new partners? Will it prioritize local ownership? Will it introduce policies to maximize national benefit? These are critical questions, and the answers will shape the next decade of Sierra Leone's economic journey. If this decision leads to stronger contracts, better revenue management, and real development, then Sierra Leone will become an example for the rest of Africa. It will show that even nations with painful histories can reclaim their narratives. It will show that a country once defined by conflict diamonds can now be defined by responsible diamonds, ethical diamonds, sustainable diamonds, national diamonds. Sierra Leone's choice is not just bold, it is historic. Cutting off a U.S. mining license is not an act of hostility but an act of sovereignty. It is the nation saying, we decide who accesses our diamonds, we decide how they are managed, we decide what our future looks like, and that is the essence of true independence. Sierra Leone is no longer waiting for others to build its future. It is taking the first steps itself, strong, determined, and unapologetic. The diamonds that once brought conflict may now bring unity. The diamonds that once empowered outsiders may now empower Sierra Leoneans. The diamonds that once symbolized loss may now symbolize possibility. This moment, this decision, this turning point, it is not the end of a story. It is the beginning of a new one. A story where Sierra Leone stands tall, stands proud, and stands in full control of its diamond destiny. In the end, this is more than a story about diamonds, politics, or international contracts. It is a story about identity, dignity, and a nation rediscovering its worth after decades of being told it didn't have much to offer the world other than cheap labor and raw minerals. Sierra Leone's decision to cut off a U.S. mining license is not just a legal move, it is an emotional one, a symbolic one, a deeply human one. Because for so long, the very resources that could have built schools, hospitals, and thriving cities instead flowed out of the country in ships, in briefcases, in corporate profits, while the people who lived on the land were left with almost nothing but empty pits and broken promises. But something is changing, slowly but powerfully. Sierra Leone is remembering its value. The diamonds that once fueled conflict, division, and suffering are beginning to symbolize something entirely new: ownership, pride, and the rise of a nation determined to take back its future. And this moment, this decision, feels like a turning point. For the first time in a long time, Sierra Leone is not reacting to foreign pressure. It is setting its own direction. It is not waiting for approval from Washington, London, or Beijing. It is claiming what has always been its own. There is something deeply emotional about a country standing up for itself after being underestimated for so long. The world rarely expects small nations to make big moves, but Sierra Leone just proved that courage doesn't come from size, it comes from conviction. It comes from the belief that your people deserve better. It comes from the simple but powerful realization that your resources have power, and so do you. Think about what this means. For the little boy in Kono whose father works long hours in a mining field, think about what it means for the woman selling food near a mining site, trying to provide for her family. Think about what it means for the next generation, a generation that might finally grow up in a Sierra Leone that is no longer defined by what others take, but by what it chooses to build. This decision won't fix everything overnight, no policy, no cancellation, no announcement ever does, but it signals a beginning, a shift, a new kind of courage, and of course big powers will respond. There will be pressure, negotiations, public statements, and private warnings. But what matters most is that Sierra Leone is no longer silent. It is no longer sitting at the table as a powerless observer. It is taking its seat as an equal, demanding fairness, demanding respect, demanding control of its own story. That alone is a victory. For years, documentaries and news headlines have portrayed Sierra Leone through the darkest lens: war, poverty, corruption, struggle. But moments like this remind us that the narrative is changing. This is a country rising, a country learning, a country refusing to be defined by the trauma of its past. The diamond that once symbolized conflict is becoming a symbol of rebirth. And if you listen closely, you can feel it, a quiet but powerful hope running through the streets, the mines, the government offices, the villages, the cities. A hope that says, this time things can be different. This is not just a fight for diamonds. It is a fight for destiny. When future generations look back on this moment, they won't just see a headline about a canceled mining license. They will see the moment Sierra Leone took its future into its own hands and refused to let foreign interests shape its story any longer. They will see the moment the country looked inward, saw its strength, and chose not to be afraid. And maybe, just maybe, the rest of Africa will follow. Maybe this is the spark that inspires other nations to ask, who is really benefiting from our resources? What would happen if we said no? What would happen if we believed we deserved better? In a world where power often comes from wealth, Sierra Leone is discovering something even stronger: the power of self-respect, the power of reclaiming what was lost, the power of standing tall in front of nations much bigger and saying, "We are not afraid of you, we are protecting our future." This is more than a political decision. It is a statement to the world, a message to its people, a promise to its children. Sierra Leone's diamond future is back in Sierra Leone's hands, and that changes everything.